Today marks 40 years since Charlie Howard was murdered in Bangor for being gay. On July 7th, 1984, Howard was walking down Bangor State Street with his boyfriend when three teenagers approached them yelling homophobic slurs. They threw Howard off the State Street Bridge into the Conduskeg Stream where he drowned. On this anniversary of his death, a remembrance service was held in his honor. News and Remain's Katie Delaney shows us how Charlie Howard's legacy lives on today.
A procession makes its way down Park Street, across a rainbow crosswalk, into the bridge where Charlie Howard was murdered 40 years ago. People drop flowers into the Conduskeg Stream below to honor a life lost to violence and hatred.
We're here today because so many of us were touched by what happened.
The ceremony mirrors the memorial at the Unitarian Church in Bangor days after Howard was killed, when more than 200 people gathered to remember him. Lee Giles was there in 1984 and is here 40 years later to continue honoring Howard.
And I remember how shocked we were and hurt.
She remembers Charlie Howard as a very nice young man.
Pleasant, funny, big smile, nice to people, reached out. He was a nice kid.
Howard's murder was a tragedy, but it was also a catalyst for change. It galvanized the LGBTQ+ movement in Maine and led to the formation of the Maine Lesbian-Gay Political Alliance, now Equality Maine. The organization fights for laws to protect the LGBTQ community.
So many more people have been involved in making LGBTQ people feel safe and seen and valid here in the state of Maine.
While this tragedy happened 40 years ago and a lot of progress has been made since then, the community is still fighting to make sure that what happened to Howard never happens to anyone ever again.
Not everyone feels safe at school or at home or at work. And so we are still fighting to make sure that every single one of us who are LGBTQ gets to be themselves.
Reverend Andrew Moeller, who leads the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor, says there's particular room for progress in religious groups, as some communities are unwilling to recognize people with different sexual and gender identities.
Hatred and vitriol can destroy a life, can prevent somebody from being the person, the beautiful person, the amazing person that they are. It reminds us that we still have a long way to go.
Howard's legacy living on in those working to create a world where all LGBTQ people can live in peace. In Bangor, Katie Delaney, News Center, Maine.